So I want to turn to Ben Sira's grandson here. Okay. So
Mhm.
can you discuss the uniqueness of the introduction of Ben Sira's grandson? What are some of the insights we can learn from this? And this as well. How similar or different are their views on Torah and wisdom?
Mm.
Very interesting.
Yes. The prologue of the grandson is a fine example of problems a translator must face and overcome. For me, the most important aspect of the prologue would be that the grandson states that the Hebrew text of his grandfather and his own Greek translation are two separate entities. For me, it means that the both texts should be studied on their own.
Fascinating.
And should not be mixed up to get one text that in fact doesn't exist, which you see in the commentaries often and often again. May I read some lines of the prologue in which he states this problem?
Please.
Yeah.
You are invited, therefore, to read it, the prologue, with goodwill and attention, and to be indulgent in cases where, despite our diligent labor in translating, we may seem to have rendered some phrases imperfectly. For what was originally expressed in Hebrew does not have exactly the same sense when translated into another language. Not only this book, but even the law itself, the prophecies, and the rest of the books differ not a little when read in the original. And in fact, this is the problem of all translators, all the times, all the centuries, that you can't say this is the original and the translation is the same as the original.
Yeah.
And I struggled many times with publishers to make a commentary in which both the Hebrew text was commented upon and the Greek text in 2 pages. But it is too expensive for a publisher to make such a book. That's in fact the reason.
Wow.
And then you see that in most commentaries the canonical Greek text is used, and sometimes the Hebrew is put into, or otherwise the Hebrew is leading, and then the Greek is put into, because there is not a complete Hebrew text. But we will see in the due course that some examples that there is quite a difference between the Hebrew text of the grandfather and the Greek translation of his grandson. And we have to respect it and not to mingle it, for then we do not know who wrote the text.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
No, it really is. And I mean, I probably shouldn't go there with it, but sort of on a macro level, it's kind of like this, right? Like Hebrew, Greek, grandson, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of has that feel within Judaism itself, but very interesting. So,
yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent nuance. And anyone getting into Ben Sira scholarship, I think that the introduction by his grandson, it's so unique that we get that great insight into it, but realizing we have to approach the Greek and Hebrew very differently. You know, another question.
There are only a few examples, texts in antiquity describing this problem. And this is one of the few. And therefore it is very important that the translator realizes what he or she is doing.
Right.
Yep.
So
excellent.
Good.